Hello, and a very warm welcome to all the people attending this webinar today on launching a career in data analytics and business intelligence. We all know how difficult it is currently to, figure out the right kind of analytics course, considering these type of courses are mushrooming these days. And that's why we need a proper guidance from some of the people in the industry and playing a critical role. And that's why Analytics India magazine, in association with Prestige University, we have designed this webinar to help you guys with this career guidance and tell us what's the importance of MBA in data analytics and business intelligence. To lead this webinar, we have with us Mr. Santhana Krishnan. He's the Vice President Analytics Consulting at Tiger Analytics. He's a senior leader working at the intersection of advanced analytics and management consulting and advises clients across industries on end-to-end aspects of advanced analytics programs, design, implementation, and ongoing value delivery. Along with him, we have Dr. Chandrashekhar. He's the Dean of Business Analytics at Prestige University. He comes with 3 decades of experience in industry and academia. And on today's webinar, these esteemed speakers will introduce us to the data science and analytics market and the emergence of data science as a field, the core skills to build a career in data science and different job roles in this domain. The session will also be followed by a quick Q&A, so start dropping your queries on the questions tab. And now, without any further delay, let's welcome our esteemed guest for the day. Hi, and welcome to the webinar session.
Thank you.
Should I start presenting, Sajid?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sure. Just open up this presentation. Hope everyone can see the presentation. Fine?
Yes, it's good to go.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for spending your early evening on this presentation. What I'll do is I'll present more of an industry perspective. I've lived this space for the past 20 years now. Aspirant to an MBA program, like most of you. And when I started off in that space, data and analytics was yet to be a specialization, but today we have quite a lot of it, right? We trace some of that evolution and talk about how analytics, especially business analytics, is relevant as an option or as a specialization within MBA programs. The first thing that we do before we get into further details is have some definition in mind, right? So we talk about business analytics or analytics in general, but here we'll speak more about business analytics. What is the definition, right? The way, having seen this space evolve for almost like 20 years now, the way I define it, or the phrase that I would use is, it's about solving high impact business problems. Of course, it can solve more than business problems in a classical business space. In that case, you can talk about more generally as high impact problems. But given we're speaking more specifically in the context of businesses, it's about solving high impact business problems using data or by bringing to the data an entire spectrum of solutions, right? It could be data visualization. A lot of you would have seen very intelligent data visualization that helps you immediately get the message rather than a very long presentation, right? Data visualization is a specialized field within analytics. So it could be that kind of analytics, or it could be diagnostics, investigating why something happened or why we are seeing a particular trend by diving into the root causes, or it could be an entire spectrum of advanced analytics models, a class of models in the AI space for speech, image, video analytics, and so on and so forth, right? It could be the entire spectrum of analytics. And bringing to the data and this entire range of analytics solutions or solutions driven by analytics is leveraged to solve high impact business problems by combining these to build business applications that can scale, right? This could be forecasting and using that forecasting for better planning of inventory, or forecasting traffic to have the right kind of customer service personnel. There is a whole range of use cases that you can apply the combination of data and analytics in order to deliver value, right? We'll see some of that subsequently, how it plays out in different business verticals. So we can quote a whole lot of examples, but I've just mentioned a few phrases here, right? All of us are in some way connected to the retail industry, right? Like today, if you take a country like India, you have multiple retail formats, right? Large retail outlets and malls, or standalone downtown stores, or kind of there are different kinds of retail formats, or multi-brand retail, right? Like, and within that, you could have grocery, you could have apparel, you could have footwear, electronics, consumer electronics retail, right? Like or specialty retail in general. There are a whole class of problems that can be addressed using analytics, right? Starting from, where do I even plan my new store opening? Should I open it up in a high density area, a lower density area? How does the traffic play a part? Where do I place it in such a way that access and sales volumes are optimal, right? These are all very interesting problem to solve, but that brings together different kinds of data and analytics. Customer lifetime value is a huge um, uh, because each customer now wants to have a personalized treatment. They have to prioritize. Retailers have to prioritize, and one of the very efficient mechanisms that they use is customer lifetime value. How do you calculate that? There's a lot of analytics that goes into that. Out of stock prediction, right? Like whether it is e-commerce or whether it is in store, you don't want to walk out of a apparel store or a clothing store where you like the style and color, but you don't have your size. It's a very, very disappointing experience for customers. But how do you predict out of stocks ahead of time and then be prepared, right? Like these are all some unique problems or interesting problems that retailers solve using analytics. Now, FMCG, or more broadly in India, we call it as FMCG. In some of the other markets, they call it as consumer packaged goods, right? Because you're not buying directly from a Unilever or a Procter & Gamble or even PepsiCo, Coca-Cola. They need to understand what the end consumers want, but they don't directly interact with you. How do you do that? Consumer insights. There could be various sources. How do they deliver very advertisements that are very relatable? How do they spend their marketing dollars across different channels, whether it is video advertising or over-the-top platforms or other channels, radio, television? How do they do that in such a way that they can achieve optimal brand awareness? There's a lot of analytics that goes in. Pricing and promotions, right? Banking, a huge application, everlasting kind of an application over the last 20-30 years has been fraud detection. How do you detect patterns in transaction data and prevent a fraudulent transaction, whether it is on credit cards or banking, from happening? There's still a lot of fraud that happens, but how do you prevent it by predicting these patterns ahead of time, right? Like this tremendous amount of work that happens using analytics in that kind of a setup. Insurance, nowadays people underwrite, right? Like you get a premium quote for your automobile by just clicking and sending a photograph of it, or even in the case of claims, if you have a dent in the vehicle, you can kind of click a photograph and send it. How do they process that data, right? Like are there automated algorithms that can run to either process applications or claims? Similarly, in healthcare and transportation, right? Especially in healthcare nowadays, there's a lot of, all of us pretty much have wearable health monitoring devices. Can that data be combined with long-term medical history, and any kind of health risk can be predicted ahead of time to have a positive outcome on health? There's a lot of work that happens in this space using analytics, right? The list goes on, right, endlessly. It could even go into utility, oil and gas, government, and so on and so forth. But if I go back, we talked about data management or data, bringing together data, an entire range of analytic solutions, and then building business applications. So there's a clear input, process, output, or you could see that as upstream, midstream, downstream kind of a view to analytics. Now, these all represent different kinds of skills that need to be built, right? This is the technical picture, whereas the earlier one that I talked about are real life business problems that needs to get solved. So combining these two is really what data and analytics focused programs, either the technical programs or data and analytics focused MBA programs generally provide as skills that students could get ready for the market for, right? Broadly, when it comes to combining the technical and business competencies together to be able to operate as a techno-functional business consultant, we normally talk about competencies in these three broad dimensions: technical competencies, business to analytics or business to solution translation, and solution to business value translations. This is actually a two-way arrow actually. And then we talk about program management, right? Within technical competencies, we talk about how do you prepare data, how do you perform data analysis, investigative analysis, data modeling, visualization, analytic or statistical modeling, right? How do you deploy these solutions? Because a lot of times these have to get, these analytics are deployed to operate on cloud-based decision engines. Then, because we're solving business problems, how do you understand the business context? Or what is the business process? Whether it is customer service, customer relationship management, marketing, supply chain. Understanding the business context is important. And then problem discovery. How do you break down a high-level problem statement that somebody in the sales or marketing, they speak in their business language? How do you then translate that into an analytics problem statement? And then go about designing a solution, right? Gathering the right data, hypothesis. These are all things that are relevant, right? Like, don't want to go into reading the entire list. So many things have to come together to prepare a professional to have a good blend of technical skills as well as the business skills to be able to effectively operate as a techno-functional business consultant in the analytics industry. And generally, I've been through a MBA program, 2001, 2003, did it from an Institute of Science. And at that time, data science is not even a word out there, right? But what I experienced in a program like that was also very similar. A combination of very good technical skills. We were programming in R. R was very, very right out of the open source ecosystem. Combining those kind of technical skills, combining real life business cases to solve is really what prepared to play in this field. Now, while I talked about techno-functional, we talked about both the technical picture, which is basically this one, upstream, downstream, and midstream. We also talked about a combination of technical and business skills, right? What it results is in the analytics space, it kind of creates different career paths, right? Some are core technical career paths. For example, data science, machine learning, AI. This core technical career stream. Like the way I imagine even the data and application engineering. In fact, when I talk to my colleagues, I tell these are specialists that breathe in, breathe out code or architecture. They think about how to solve the technical problem. Not that they don't appreciate the business problem, but their dominant dimension is the technical dimension. When it comes to the analytics and technology consulting, this becomes more like a techno-functional. So it's not like you're going to be a deep expert in the technical side. However, you need to know enough of the technical skills, which is exactly what some of the programs prepare you for. You also need to bring in a business or a functional angle. That means that there is a balance that you need to strike between both the technical and the functional side of what you will learn and how you will practice, right? And most of the MBA programs that offer a combination of technical and functional skills prepare you for a career in this space. But that is not to say nobody can become a technical expert after doing an MBA program in data and analytics. Each individual is a very special person, but broadly what we've seen is people doing MBA with a specialization in data and business analytics predominantly play a techno-functional consulting kind of roles. Now, with that context, how does one grow? Right? I told I've been in this space for 20 years. This is exactly where I started. Right after my program, I started off as an individual contributor using tools like SQL, R, SAS. Of course, SAS was very predominant. Now we also have, in addition to R, SAS, Python, right? Like the very widely used tool. So the competencies that I talked about a couple of slides back are learned by using specific tools. If it is data visualization, people talk about Tableau, Power BI. There are a whole range of tools. If it is data querying and data analysis, you could do that using Python or R, or even you could do that using SQL. So these are all skills, tools to learn, and that is really what you will come in very useful when you're practicing an individual contributor role, right? Like that is where you are intimately interacting with data, understanding patterns, trying to do visualizations, data analysis, and modeling. As you grow up, as even for analytics consultants, these technical skills serve as a very strong foundation when you're performing individual contributor roles. As you go through what we call as a lead group, this is almost like individual contributor group. Role group is where somebody spends anywhere between 4 to 6 years, depending upon where they start. And similarly, the lead role group is another anywhere between 8 to 10 year kind of a career path. And then a lead role group is where you manage a team of technical as well as consulting teams coming together to deliver something more meaningful as an overall deliverable, whereas here it will be individual tasks. And then as you move on, furthermore senior in your career, you could be managing large client programs, either in a particular industry or a functional area. Somebody could be a marketing analytics portfolio leader. Somebody could be a banking analytics partner, right? Like so those are the kind of roles that open up over anywhere over a 20 to 25 year kind of a career path. So those are the points that I wanted to share with all of you. Of course, I'll take questions later once Professor Chandrasekhar is also done with his presentation. Those are thoughts I wanted to quickly share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Santhana sir. Is my slide visible to all of you?
Yes.
Great. So good afternoon all. Very happy to have you on this webinar. So let me introduce what Prestige University offers. We heard Santhana sir on the analytics perspective. What do we offer on the business analytics side? Now, Prestige yes, sorry. Prestige is a 40-year-old group based in Indore. It has two sides to it. One is the agri-processing side, other is the education side. So this is a new university being launched by the group with world-class intentions. And towards that, we will see what is it we are putting into place. First is an infrastructure, which something presentable to anybody in the world. Be it a 32-acre campus, be it large spaces, open spaces, or interior spaces for library, cafeteria, classrooms, and what have you. So this is part of the whole deal which all participants will get in this program. In addition, we have signed up with global collaborators, both industry and academia partners. On the academic side, We have collaborations with faculty in Texas A&M, Babson, Copenhagen Business School, University of Pittsburgh. These are some of the representative names you see on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side, we have our industry partners, be it HDFC, Gati, MTR, Tiger Analytics, and a whole bunch of others. So the combination of this entire curriculum was in a sense co-created using the combined wisdom of both academic partners and industry partners. So you get the latest and the most relevant curriculum in the business analytics program. Business analytics demand gap, supply gap, and all is something highlighted by Santhanam sir earlier. So I'll skip this. I'll come to what will you get in the classroom. It's a 6-term, 2-year program in Prestige. The first term will focus on building strong management foundations. Since it's an MBA program, you need to know all the management. All the management courses will be taught in the first 2 years, be it marketing, finance, econ, operations. But from second term onwards, we start building the analytics foundations, be it introduction to R, be it introduction to data wrangling, or how to understand data, initial data introduction. Term 3, you go into more relevant tools for data, be it Python programming or Tableau or initial introduction to time series forecasting and what have you. The one thing good about this program, which I have not seen in many programs, is that there's a 5-month internship plan, which is the 2 summer months plus the term 4, entire term, which is where you will go and work with the industry and observe what the industry does, and that gives you a real life feel of analytics itself. And then when you come back to campus on term 4 and 5, we have this advanced courses in machine learning, ensemble methods, deep learning, computer vision, and what have you. So that's the broad introduction to the infrastructure and the program you have in place. We have in place. In addition, I must say we have quality faculty on board who are all ready and geared to welcome a batch of students, interested, curious students. Now, what will you get as a student? Certainly, you will get mentoring from academic partners and our industry partners right through the 2-year program, quality education, and from qualified faculty, and you'll have a nice campus atmosphere to work with, to express yourself, meet friends, do discussions, small group activities, and what have you. And in addition to all that, the capstone project which comes at the end, which is term 6, last term, should help you round off what all you learned into a full-fledged data analytics professional, ready for industry activities. In the capstone projects, one could choose from a whole host of applications. It could be recommender systems, it could be anomaly detection, it could be any of the things which Santhana sir mentioned earlier. So that's broadly what we have to offer. We should start this program sometime in August, September this year. All the standard tests are admissible, which goes with an MBA program, CAT, CMAT, GMAT. And we hope that we get a good batch so that we can also train them and educate them well so that they are ready for industry. Thank you. So that's the presentation I had to share. Sejuti, over to you.
Yes. Yes, thank you. That was amazing, Mr. Santhana Krishnan. Thanks for letting us know how the industry and the trends work. And thanks, Mr. Chandrasekhar, for telling us how the Prestige University works and what all they can provide. I have a few questions before I open it up to the Q&A for audience. That's a cue for the audience. Who please drop in your questions. We will be taking them up shortly. Before we go into that, I would like to understand from both of you guys a few things. What are the current trends? To start with, I would like to know this. In the fields of business intelligence, what are the current trends that we can see?
Right, I think I'll take that question. if you look at the entire analytics spectrum, right? Few things have been a constant. In fact, early last year, put out an article telling which are the constants and what are the changes in the analytics industry, right? The business needs are always constant. People are talking about, like, it's a little cliche, but people always want to know what happened, right? What happened means, how was my sales last month? How was it compared to last year, the same month? So these are all almost like people tell this is like a rear view mirror. Whether it is a sales a leader or a marketing leader or a supply chain leader, e-commerce business leaders, all of them want to know how their business performed in the past. And if certain performances are not in line with their expectation, they want to know why is that happening, right? Like, so what happened? Why is it happening, right? Like, if something went really well, they also want to know why is it happening. It's not like they're happy and then saying, oh, we got lucky, because they would like to know why did it happen, so that you can understand and replicate that success factor across the different areas. And obviously, the other thing is what could happen, which is more predictive, right, looking ahead. And what could happen is never a single thing, because till something really happens, there could be multiple possibilities. So you deal in scenarios, right? What happens? You make predictions. Okay, with 40% probability this could happen. With 40%, with 30% probability something else could happen, and so on and so forth, right? And in each scenario, what should be my response as a business person? This is how business leaders think. Whether it is a sales person, a salesperson, a lot of us would have encountered how to think, right? What has changed, however, is when people talk about business intelligence, what happened? They want to combine different sources of data. One good example is people talk about, understanding customer analytics. Today, customer analytics means I could be a customer for a retail in store. I could also be buying from the same retailer online, right? Or I could be I could be ordering online and picking it up in store. So this has changed. Customers, when businesses want to look at customers, and in the context of business intelligence, saying customer performance metrics, right? Recency, frequency, monetary. Earlier, it all meant like, okay, who comes to the store how many times? So now, how do you define recency? Is it combining both online and in-store behavior, or is it separately? How do you measure that, right? These things are changing, and that is a very fundamental nature of how larger digital technologies are changing businesses. So certain things about how business decision makers, what they want, certain things remain constant, but the landscape, both in terms of the business models, the channels of customers interacting with the business, as well as the marketing, right? Like same thing, right? Like, should I invest in YouTube videos or television ads or over-the-top platforms like Hotstar or Amazon Prime? These are also business decisions. So those things are tremendously changing. And whether it is business intelligence to report metrics, how do you visualize data, how do you analyze data, how do you make predictions, this changing landscape has to be captured, and that is where you need more powerful tools, more powerful techniques, and the knowledge of how to use these tools and techniques, which again goes back to highlight the importance of getting a strong foundation on these areas. That's how I would put it.
Correct. Very rightly pointed out, and you being in the industry from at the core of it, it makes a lot of difference. You know what's the sort of perspective that brings out, and it's very critical for for people who are planning to build a career in this. On that note, I'm coming to Mr. Chandrasekhar, coming from this academics, background and from that domain. What sort of trends that you can have you sort of perceive over the years, and how it is changing maybe?
Yeah, I guess that's a very interesting question. Maybe the first analytics courses in India was started about 7, 8 years ago. I don't recall now. But since then, you see the number of courses which are there in this country, both online and in class, and each of them offers certain types of education on the broad data analytics space. So when one looks at all of this, possible participant is always confused. Which one should I choose, right? So if you decide to do a 2-year full-time MBA program, invest in a 2-year full-time master's program in analytics, then you should certainly consider what does the program offer in terms of curriculum, faculty, and all of these have changed and all of these have morphed over the period of time. And importantly, what we realize is collaborations with industry partners and academic partners would make a program really truly something worthwhile for any participant to consider. So I'd say more and more collaborations with good, robust programs coming up.
Correct, correct. Very rightly pointed out. So, Mr. Chandrasekhar, if you can also elaborate a bit, what is the scope in the field of data analytics for people who are, making a pivot or, trying to get into this domain?
Oh yes, in the past, we have seen students come from a variety of backgrounds. Some of them have programming background, they come from IT side. Some of them come from BPO side. Some of them come from other side. All those who want to make a change or transition to analytics world would need some qualification, a credible qualification to make the transition. So that is what we find more and more interest in uh, participants and interested who want to make a transition to the analytics world. That's only increasing from year to year, from what we see.
Correct. Same question for Mr. Santhana Krishnan also. I want to understand a bit from your, side as well. What is the scope in the field of data analytics do you see in the current state?
I think, in fact, I'm preparing for an address in an inaugural MBA program in another university as well. One of the things that is like you can always look at it through your lens, right? Now it is today, like I said, I've been in this space for 20 years, right? Now it has been a constant journey of learning. Now, of course, landing in this space, it was not like such a huge deliberate move. Some of it just fell in place by luck. But there are so much that you can learn, right? I've never worked in a retail business. I've never worked in a bank. I've never, of course, I've worked in some industries, right? Oil and gas, I was directly a maintenance engineer. I've worked in different parts of the oil and gas business, to an extent in the manufacturing side as well. But the number of industries that I've been able to learn how marketing works, how customer relationship works, how fraud prevention works, how inventory control works, for example, very interesting problems like winter 2022 collection in, let's say, something like a Shoppers Stop or any of these very large retail things. When do they start planning for winter 2022? And how do they procure the inventory? When should they keep it in store? When do they send it to the stores? How much should they send to which store? These are all problems that are very, very unique, and there is no way. I never worked in any of these industries, but these are all interesting problems that you can learn being in this field, because you're solving business problems, right? Like in the business analytics space. Now, that's almost like going into solving a puzzle every day at work, right? That has been the journey for last 20 years. Either the puzzle is on the business side, or to give another example, data. When I first, I was in GE when I first started my analytics career. we used to celebrate a 1 terabyte customer transaction data with us. Now 1 terabyte is now hard drive on our laptops, right? So people are talking about petabytes of data, zettabytes of data. So the data, how do you hold and process data, that has changed tremendously, which means that you are constantly learning on the technical dimension as well. Now, I think if we say in some ways, when we combine the potential to learn continuously in a very structured way, and that is also helpful at work, it becomes a very enjoyable journey. Now, if I make a prediction, next couple of decades is also going to be heavily driven by very, very interesting data and analytics application, whether it is like IoT or I don't know what newer forms of data and computing is going to come in over the next two decades. In the immediate 5-year term, we already see enough of trends of what we are seeing today continuing in a linear pattern, right? So it's a very, very interesting space where you get to learn beyond what your immediate academic qualifications are prepared, but you get the right tools to continue to learn. Right? That has been my personal experience, which I hope all the participants of this webinar also get to experience if they pursue a career in analytics.
Correct. Very well described, Mr. Santhana Krishnan. This brings me to my next question. This is for Mr. Chandrasekhar. You have mentioned a lot about Prestige University. You've also mentioned it is newly, designed and formed. Why do you think one should join a new university? And yeah, probably I'll have another question part 2, but I'll get to that. So if you can, elaborate on bit on this.
Yeah, it's a genuine question for any participant, anyone interested. See, university is new, but those associated with the university are not new. Be it the faculty, be it the advisory board, all of them have been with analytics for a long, long time. The advisory board we have, which includes someone like Santhana Krishnan, has been, as he described, he's been with analytics for more than 2 decades. And the other academic partners we have, all of them have very keen analytics professionals for the last 2-3 decades. So the newness is only in terms of the new offer which is brought to the market. But technically, what is there is all distilled, and what is relevant is what is brought to the market for participants to enjoy it. Now, if you look at the partners we have, one such partner is Copenhagen Business School. Now, faculty from Copenhagen Business School will also be part of the delivery of this curriculum to the students who are going to participate. Right. Likewise, we have tie-up with professors in Marshall School of Business in Southern California. So, new university in one sense because it's being launched, but what is being driven is world-class academics and world-class firms, international firms, analytics firms, and other partners. So, if I were a participant really wanting to some total of all this, that will be something interesting for me to consider.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody here should just go check this out. Considering the like Mr. Chandrasekhar has said, the people who are associated with this course and this university are definitely a part of this analytics domain since a very long time. So, Mr. Chandrasekhar, what is the internship or the placement support that Prestige University is currently providing to its students, the people who's going to join?
Yes, the university will certainly provide assistance in terms of first getting those 5-month internships, which I mentioned earlier, and subsequently the final placement for the candidates, all the participants. I mean, university has will take care of that. There's nothing to worry about. The industry partners we have, and they would certainly be our first stop to get internships in the first place, since they are also involved in this process of co-creation and let's say promotion of this campaign of this university. So certainly they would also, many of them would participate in this. I wouldn't worry too much about internships or placements.
Sure, sure. So if you can also tell us about Prestige University's super specialization and why one, as a student should choose super specialization, especially from Prestige University.
Yes, that's a good question. See, the era of doing a classical MBA. MBA has been around for last 3 decades, maybe 4 decades, or even 5 decades. As we used to know, earlier the IIMs used to offer PGDM. Then the other universities started offering MBA, right? Today, even the IIMs can offer MBA. The classical MBA has been around for last 5 decades, to my knowledge. Now, there are so many MBA students graduating from good colleges across India. And for them to find meaningful career avocations or career paths might not be the same as it might have been, let's say, 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So I think we are moving into an era of specialization and super specialization. That's one of the trends we can see from the academic side, which is why most of the programs we are planning to launch in Prestige are all specialized programs, be it analytics, be it supply chain, be it e-business, or be it food and agri. So it's the industry trend or the general trend is if you have specialized knowledge, you can enter a niche and broaden yourself and be very, very productive. That's the broad answer.
Correct. I hope these key questions sort of help our attendees. I have some audience questions that have come in. Uh, we can take a few of them. Do let me know do you want me to like probably read them out to you guys, and then probably you guys can take that up. Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So this is from Neeraj. Neeraj is asking, at the age of 55, will this MBA be useful for me? How far shall I rise if I start at this age?
I think Santhanam sir can have a first shot at this.
Yeah, please.
That's an interesting question. So the way I would put it is, it depends on what your background, your experience so far has been. Mr. Neeraj, I'm glad somebody's looking it up as a specialization at this kind of stage in the professional career. There are things that could be a logical fit to what you've done. So let's say, let me take the example. So even when we look at hiring, right? Not when I switched into analytics as a career, I switched it after about 4 to 5 years of experience working in petrochemical industry, as I was hinting. And there are a lot of people who do that. That we call as early career switching, right? Like 3 to 5 years experience, and then you do a MBA program with specialization in a particular area, in this case, data and analytics, and make a switch. So that kind of prepares the landing point for most of them would be in the individual contributor role group, as I was talking about a little while back. And what we call as mid-career switchers are people who, I mean, again, these the experience ranges are very broad. Mid-career switchers are people who switch into the analytics space after about 5 to 10 years of experience in a different space, and then they may go through an MBA program with specialization in analytics. And we see a lot of the people who have specialized in IT industry, like business intelligence, data warehousing, application engineering, enterprise systems. They do take this career path and do very well. Of course, the runway for you, especially if you have to learn some tools all the way from ground zero, it becomes a little difficult if you're out of touch. But we call them as mid-career switchers. And then the late stage career switches, it's not like late stage as in, I mean, something is late. It's just that the phase is anywhere 15 years of experience or later, 20 years. People sometimes do that. what I have observed, this is a general observation, is they get into management roles. Like somebody could be like, hey, we are an analytics company. We have a lot of business, or like we have a 300-member team. We want somebody to manage the business operations, to have a useful background in analytics, because you can't manage what you don't know. And it is not that you need to know every line of code written, every model being built, if you have to manage, right? And we've seen again a lot of excellent in the leaders from the classical traditional IT industry, which was ruling in the space for about 20 years, from late 90s to about end of the last decade, I would say. A lot of them found reinvented themselves to come and play a significant part in the data and analytics industry. So depending upon what your background is, this could be a very logical complement, which can set you into a different path. And you don't have to think about, oh, I do this now and then I again start from scratch. Maybe you will laterally enter into the analytics space somewhere in the middle to advanced career path stage. That is how I would imagine. I hope this is of help. What do you say?
Yeah, Mr. Chandrasekhar, if you want to take a take on it.
No, I think Santhanam sir has said it well.
Okay, I hope that helped Neeraj. I hope his help on his career journey. Okay, we have another question from Mr. Amit. He is asking, there is a lot of buzz for data engineering. As someone early in the career, do you think data engineering would have more scope than pursuing analytics?
Wonderful question. In fact, 2 years back, or almost like 3-4 years back, we saw this trend. At Tiger Analytics, I'm talking about our experience, right? Look, it's almost like this, right? A lot of advanced analytics rely on high quality data, right? And usually in some, and then even before the advent of big data, people used to say, oh, this is the data team, this is the analytics team. Somewhere there is a philosophy, and I was at G at that time, we used to think like, hey, look, if you have to build models, it's like you have to get the data, because you know what data you need the best, right? So there is an element of that we saw recently also. In fact, our CEO made a all hands presentation to the entire team, right? Like our team, a global team, saying, if you're a data scientist, go upstream and downstream, right? Try and see if you can acquire some data engineering skills as well as some application development skills. So it's almost, people call this as full stack data scientists, right? So to me, it's a very, very interesting question. Whether you start from data engineering, which is more like the input layer in the or upstream, as I mentioned, then move to midstream and then move to downstream, or whether you want to go deep into the data engineering area in both dimensions. Either you go deep in data engineering or spread across, acquire even within as a technical person, broaden your skill set. Both of them are very, very, very valid career path decisions. It's not like, oh, this has more scope, that has more scope. And you are right in telling that there's been a lot of buzz, but interestingly for the right reasons, because a lot of good good analytics depends on good data. And if you want to start from there, well and good. But data, the purpose of a lot of companies investing in data lakes, data stores, are also to do insights, whether in the form of meaningful reports, analysis, and analytics. Therefore, if you want to start there, brilliant, and then grow into this. But this is a necessary acquire, or you could start in the midstream, and then, as I was telling, the way our CEO kind of requested our data scientists, you could spread across the board. So both are absolutely valid career decisions. Great question again. Thank you.
Correct. I hope this helps Amit, and I hope that he's able to choose between these two. Mr. Chandrasekhar, do you have any point of view on this, or shall we?
No, no, I think it's well answered. Let's move on to the next one.
Sure, sure. We have some program-related questions which I would like Mr. Chandrasekhar to take it up. Uh, does this program requires a bachelor degree, or one can join straight away from high school or from a diploma? So if you want
Uh,
to,
no, no, it requires a bachelor degree. Graduates from almost any discipline are welcome to apply. If they have 2 or 3 years experience, that will be great. But even otherwise, freshers are welcome to apply.
correct. Okay. Hope that answers the question. Kiran is asking, can it be online for working professionals?
Not this time. Currently, the current launch is for in-class MBA program. However, hybrid mode will be followed. Not all classes will need to be conducted in person. Some of them would be online, but the program per se is a in-class mode program.
Correct. Okay. Will take one more. For someone with BCA and 1 year experience in Java programming role, trying to switch to data science, what would be your advice?
Yes, I think it's a good idea because BCA gives you some some basis in programming. And what you need to add to that is statistics and a little bit of math skills. Yeah, so that completes your data science foundation or formation. So, which is what this program will help you do. If you have the programming background, it will certainly include statistics and math part of it. So it's a good idea. BCA students are probably one of the more welcome participants in this program. But Santhanam sir may also have a point of view.
In fact, very well said, Professor Chandrasekhar. When I heard that question, I related again. Bangalore University used to have this math stat computer science program, bachelor's program. A lot of them come from that background and then either top it up with either a master's in that similar space or through a focused data analytics program. They were able to successfully transition and build a career. So very well said. I think Chandrasekhar said computer applications with some combination of stat and math is really what is the foundation required to succeed in this space. I mean, that's one of the facts. And if somebody already has one of these, it makes a lot of sense to acquire the others.
Totally makes sense. We have a question from Subha Rao. It's asking, I have 3 years of experience as a network engineer and have been doing self-learning through free analytics courses and YouTube lessons. How can I get a breakthrough in getting a transition to analytics?
I'll go first. I think if you're not from this space, you would need some credible validation or qualification. So this program would enable for someone like you to make the switch from, say, being a network engineer to a data scientist. But Santanam sir I'm sure, would have a point of view.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And I'll answer it in a slightly lighter way. Network engineers are known to be one of the best troubleshooters as well, right? Like, especially depending upon the size of the network that you managed. And a lot of times, even in analytics, you need a lot of troubleshooting skills. Something is not looking right in your data analysis. Why is it not looking right? Right? Of course, you need to know the relevant tools. Maybe here the tools that you use is SQL and Python, and then troubleshoot the data. But it's a combination of this is also a reasonably familiar academic background or a working background I've seen a lot of people have as they move into analytics. So definitely it might put you in an advantage when you're trying to move into analytics, because some of the troubleshooting skills, I mean, depending upon where in the network engineering field someone has worked, that will come in very handy. And the tools and languages that through which you will interact with data, visualization tools or the querying tools or the modeling tools. Once you pick that up, retaining the aptitude that you have, and sometimes when we move into a combination of data engineering and data analytics, network engineering background will even help the person understand the context very, very well. Okay.
Yeah, I hope that answers the question. I have another question from Neeraj. As an aspiring consultant entrepreneur, which application areas of data analytics I should focus, and how much revenue can I expect from different segments?
Professor Chandrasekhar, you want to take it up?
Yeah. Which aspects of data science to focus on? That's interesting. Data science is an ocean by itself. Now, the question is, what kind of data you're dealing with? Is it just numeric data? Is it text data or video data? Right? Or it's a combination of all of these. Now, clearly, each type of data is processed and analyzed in different ways, as we know or we will see. So broadly, I can think of three types of data. Each data requires something, certain unique skills or certain tools to process. That's the way I see it. But I'm sure Santhana sir would have a point of view.
Yeah, a very interesting question, right? Like, so I'll explain it this way, right? Since the person asked from the line of an entrepreneurial thought, let us say you want to set your own analytics company, right? And analytics itself is not a one thing, right? It's an ocean, like as Professor said. So you could have data analysis, data reporting, right? And that requires getting data together and publishing reports. A lot of these reports are now becoming visually interactive, right? And then comes investigative analysis, right? Why is it happening, right? Like I was talking about, and then advanced predictive models, right? So if you look at it as an entrepreneur, you look at where is the volume of business, how complex is that business to deliver, and what is the revenue potential, right? So what we normally see is if you are just starting in that space and you want to get your core team together, you can start anywhere. Depends on what the team has as the capability. But if you're almost complete rank new to that industry, it might be easier to start in the reporting and visualization area because reasonably good volumes. It is not complex, but mind you, there will also be competition because the entry barrier is low. It is not complex. Volume is high. A lot of players will be there. Therefore, your pricing potential as an entrepreneur may not be that high unless you bring some specialization in the visualization area, telling, oh, we not only do reports, but we make it in such a way that it is so intuitive for the business users. Then people think about bringing aesthetic visual design into reporting and visualization. So there are a lot of ways in which you can cut, but these are some pointers I could give. Right, look for where is the volume of business, or how complex it is to acquire the skill to deliver the business, and if these two are, and then that will automatically give you an indication of certain pricing potential, the competitors that you will encounter in the market. So depending upon what you choose, you need to then start defining how do we stand out, because any space is not without competition. What would be your differentiation? How do you build that out as a differentiator? That's really what will determine. A very interesting question. I have not encountered such a question in the past, but so very, very valid and a very good question.
Yeah, and you've described it quite well. So yeah, I hope this helps. In the interest of time, we'll take one more question and then we'll wrap up. Mr. Chandrasekhar, if you would like to also elaborate a bit on the program fee structure and if there is going to be any sort of support that is going to be provided and stuff, it's been asked by one of the audience members.
Yeah, the program fees is about 5.5 lakhs per annum. And the scholarship, etc., would be best dealt with the admissions team. So I would request the participant to go ahead, visit the website, and maybe drop in a query, or even if you, as in the process of filling up the online form, you could query and get response to this. The fees is 5.5 lakhs per annum.
Correct. Okay. Mr. Chandrasekhar, if you also want to put up the website link quickly on the chat, it would just help the audience to quickly go and check out the program.
Okay,
Let just I can
I'll
also
do
do
that.
that. Yeah. Uh, so yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this session. It was indeed very interesting for us to understand how this program works and what is the industry parameters, what is the industry actually is currently looking for, in terms of data analytics and business intelligence. So thank you, Mr. Santhana Krishnan. And thank you, Mr. Chandrasekhar. It was a great session. Hope this helps and help the audience members to build their career in data analytics. The link of the university is also already been dropped on the chat. So please, guys, drop in your queries there if anything is left out today. But for now, we'll just wrap up. Thank you so much for doing this session.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you.